Hi everyone and welcome back to Mental Models for Managing Change. I am Ali Juma and as always, I'm so glad you're here. Before we dive in, let's revisit what we mean by a mental model. A mental model is a way of seeing, a thinking framework that helps us interpret complexity, solve problems, and make better decisions. Think of it as a mental GPS. The clearer the route, the more confidently we can navigate uncertainty. In our last episode, we explored the OODA loop, a model for adapting fast when circumstances shift around us. But what about when the challenge itself feels too big to start? That's where today's mental model comes in. It is called chunking, and it is all about breaking big change into small, manageable pieces. What is chunking? Chunking is how our brains handle overload. We can hold a few pieces of information at once, so we group details into meaningful chunks to process them better. Think of how you remember a phone number. Instead of 041234567 you probably store it as 041234567. In change work, chunking helps us reduce overwhelm, build momentum, and make big transformations feel possible. A story from history, the Apollo program. Let's go back to 1961. President John F. Kennedy stood before Congress and said, "I believe this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth." It was one of the boldest goals in human history. But NASA didn't tackle it all at once. They chunked the mission. 1. Mercury program. They learn how to get a human into space and back safely. 2. Gemini program. Develop skills like spacewalking, orbital maneuvers, and docking. 3. Apollo program. Assemble all those learnings into a mission to reach the moon. Each program was a chunk of the larger goal. Every success built confidence. Every failure was contained within that chunk, not the entire mission. When Apollo 11 landed on the moon in 1969, it wasn't just engineering genius. It was a triumph of chunking, of turning a massive vision into achievable milestones. Why chunking matters in change? In organizational change, big goals often fail because they feel too overwhelming. Words like transformation can trigger anxiety because people imagine endless meetings, systems upheaval, and confusion. Chunking lowers resistance. It helps people see progress, feel in control, and believe that change is achievable. How to use chunking in change work? Here are 3 practical ways to apply chunking. 1. Chunk your communication. Instead of overwhelming people with a 10-page change brief, summarize it into 3 key themes. People remember stories and themes, not bullet point overload. 2. Chunk your timelines. Break your year-long project into phases. Give each phase a clear goal and celebrate its completion. 3. Chunk your capability building. Start with essential knowledge, then layer on complexity gradually. Avoid training people on every feature at once. Reflection challenge. This week, think of a change you are leading or one that feels stuck. Ask yourself, how can I break this into smaller chunks? What's the first small piece I can help the team succeed with? And how might chunking reduce fear and build momentum? Because even the boldest vision, like putting a man on the moon, starts with a single small step. Thanks so much for joining me on the Mental Models for Managing Change. If this episode sparked something for you, share it with a colleague or drop me a thought on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear how you are using chunking in your own change work. Next time, we will wrap up this mini-series with an episode on the planning fallacy, exploring why we underestimate timelines and complexity and how to plan with wisdom instead of wishful thinking. Until then, remember, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, especially if that step is part of a well-chunked plan. See you soon.